Hey everyone, I'm Rob, and welcome to another video. What's scarier than monsters creeping in the dark, or mind-bending anomalies that defy all logic? Playing them on your Steam Deck while you're cozy under a blanket, headphones cranked up, and your heart ready to leap out of your chest. That's right folks, we're diving deep into the world of SCP games. Those chilling tales of supernatural containment and unspeakable horrors turned into interactive nightmares. Even if you're just someone who loves a good scare, this list is tailor-made to give you goosebumps and adrenaline rushes at the same time. Imagine exploring eerie facilities, dodging bloodthirsty creatures, or trying to piece together cryptic mysteries while your Steam Deck faithfully brings every unsettling detail to life. It's the perfect mix of portability and terror, because who doesn't love carrying existential dread in their backpack, right? We've scoured the depths of the SCP universe to find 12 absolute bangers. Horror masterpieces that'll make you scream, sweat, and maybe even question reality. Let's get into it. SCP Containment Breach. Okay, picture something like this. You're trapped in a facility where concrete statues snap necks faster than you can say, "Don't blink." And a decomposing old man wants to drag you into his pocket dimension for tea time. Spoiler, you're the tea. That's SCP Containment Breach for you. The granddaddy of all SCP games that turned blinking into the scariest game mechanic since running out of batteries in your flashlight. You play as D9341, essentially the facility's equivalent of an expendable intern, trying to escape during a massive containment breach. The genius of this game lies in its procedurally generated facility layout. Every playthrough is a fresh serving of terror soup, with familiar ingredients, but a different spicy kick each time. The blink mechanic is particularly devious. You've got to manually manage your character's blinking, while avoiding SCP-173, a statue that moves faster than a caffeinated cheetah when you're not looking. So what makes this a perfect 10 out of 10 horror gem? It's the constant tension. You're never safe, not even for a second. The game masterfully combines atmospheric horror with jump scares, throwing in SCPs like the Plague Doctor, SCP-049, who just wants to cure you with a fatal touch, and SCP-106, an elderly gentleman who thinks phasing through walls is a totally normal way to make friends. The sound design is particularly spine-tingling. Every scrape, every footstep, every distant screech has purpose. The game's real stroke of brilliance is how it handles its horror elements. Unlike many horror games that throw everything at you at once, SCP Containment Breach gradually ramps up the tension. You might start feeling confident after avoiding one SCP, only to turn a corner and find yourself face to face with another anomaly that has very different ideas about personal space. It's like a horror buffet where every dish is trying to kill you, and you'll keep coming back for seconds. SCP Secret Laboratory. In the realm of SCP games, Secret Laboratory stands as a unique multiplayer horror experience that turns chaos into an art form. This game is a constantly evolving social experiment where every player, whether human or monster, contributes to the unfolding nightmare. The game throws you into a sprawling underground facility where chaos reigns supreme. You might spawn as a hapless D-class in an orange jumpsuit, a well-equipped scientist, or, if you're feeling particularly monstrous, as one of the terrifying SCPs themselves. Each role comes with its own objectives, from simple survival to hunting down every last human being, creating a delicious recipe for paranoia and betrayal. The facility becomes a playground of terror, where every encounter could end in either death or an unlikely alliance. You're creeping through a darkened corridor when you hear someone on voice chat claiming to be a friendly scientist, only to discover it's SCP-939 using its voice mimicry to lure you into its jaws. The game's horror elements are masterfully executed through its diverse cast of SCPs. There's SCP-096, the shy guy who turns into a rage-filled killing machine if you dare glance at his face, and SCP-079, an evil AI that can trap you in rooms by locking doors or plunge entire sections into darkness. The tension is amplified by the fact that every monster and human is controlled by real players, making each match unpredictable and uniquely terrifying. Teams can form unlikely alliances, with the Chaos Insurgency potentially working alongside SCPs to achieve their goals. The game's emphasis on voice communication creates intense moments of negotiation, deception, and desperate pleas for mercy. It's this human element that transforms what could have been a simple horror game into an unforgettable psychological thriller, where trust is as valuable as ammunition. SCP-5K. Originally launched as SCP Pandemic, SCP-5K emerges as a heart-pounding tactical horror shooter that proves sometimes the scariest monsters are the ones you face with a loaded gun. This run-and-gun affair is a methodical dance with death, where every corner could hide something that makes Lovecraftian nightmares look like teddy bears. The game's genius lies in its combination of tactical military simulation and pure psychological horror. You're creeping through a facility with up to 3 buddies, because misery loves company, armed to the teeth with customizable weapons that feel weightier than your growing sense of dread. The gunplay is polished to perfection, making each firefight feel like a desperate struggle for survival, rather than a casual shooting gallery. The developers have crafted environments that tell stories through their details, from blood-smeared walls to the bodies of unfortunate scientists who definitely had better days. The sound design plays a crucial role in building tension, though sometimes you might wish for more ambient creepiness to really get your heart racing. The game offers multiple modes to satisfy your horror cravings. The crown jewel is Area 12, a 90-minute nightmare that feels like someone threw the Forest and Rainbow Six into a blender and added a dash of existential dread. The puzzles scattered throughout keep your brain engaged while your trigger finger stays itchy. And let's talk about those SCPs. From stone creatures that move when you're not looking, because apparently blinking wasn't scary enough in Containment Breach, to giant spider crabs that make regular spiders look like cute pets. The combat system deserves special mention. It's realistic enough to make you feel like a trained operator, but terrifying enough to remind you that all that training might mean nothing against anomalous entities that don't play by the rules of nature. The weapon customization system is deep enough to make gun enthusiasts weep with joy, featuring everything from optics to lasers that might help you aim better at things you'll wish you hadn't seen. SCP Unity. Taking the terrifying foundation laid by Containment Breach and rebuilding it from the ground up in the Unity engine, SCP Unity emerges as a stunning reimagining that proves some nightmares look even better in HD. This single-player exploration horror game doesn't just update the graphics, it revolutionizes how we experience SCP horror. The game maintains the core survival horror elements that made its predecessor legendary, while introducing modern gaming sensibilities. As you navigate through the meticulously crafted facility, you'll notice the dramatic improvement in visual fidelity. Every shadow feels deeper, every corridor more claustrophobic, and every SCP more detailed than ever before. The Unity engine allows for dynamic lighting effects that transform simple concrete hallways into anxiety-inducing gauntlets of terror. The development team at Eerie Gaming Studios has created an experience that understands the fundamental rule of horror. Sometimes what you don't see is scarier than what you do. The sound design creates a symphony of dread, from the distant echoes of Containment Breach alarms to the subtle environmental sounds that make you question whether you're truly alone. The gameplay loop has been refined to maintain tension while introducing new mechanics that feel natural to the setting. The classic blink mechanic returns, but with enhanced visual feedback that makes managing your character's involuntary eye movements more intuitive. The inventory system and interaction mechanics have been modernized, making for a more fluid experience without sacrificing the overwhelming sense of vulnerability that defines SCP horror. The exploration aspects shine particularly bright, with each area of the facility telling its own silent story through environmental storytelling. Documents and terminals scattered throughout provide context and lore, while also serving as welcome breathers between heart-pounding encounters with the facility's escaped inhabitants. It's like reading a horror novel where you're the unfortunate protagonist, and every page turn could be your last. SCP Secret Files. Secret Files stands out as a unique anthology horror experience that perfectly captures the collaborative spirit of the SCP universe. As a newly recruited Foundation employee, you're thrust into 5 distinct missions that showcase different aspects of the SCP universe, each with its own art style, gameplay mechanics, and narrative approach. The game's brilliance lies in its anthology format, presenting each SCP case as a self-contained story with drastically different presentation styles. One chapter might transport you into a children's storybook with watercolor aesthetics, while another throws you into a power station filled with mysterious murders. The variety keeps players engaged, feeling like a horror anthology film, where each segment offers a fresh take on terror. The game expertly balances the Foundation's clinical approach with genuine horror, presenting seemingly innocent objects that harbor terrifying secrets. From infinite deserts to origami dragons, each anomaly is crafted with careful attention to the source material's spirit. The game's framing device of working as an archivist adds a layer of authenticity, making players feel like genuine Foundation employees processing classified information. The gameplay varies significantly between episodes, incorporating everything from first-person horror sequences to rhythm action segments. While some might find the limited interactivity in certain sections disappointing, the game compensates with strong atmospheric storytelling and unexpected mechanical twists. Each mission runs under an hour, maintaining a brisk pace that prevents any single approach from wearing out its welcome. The anthology structure allows Secret Files to explore different facets of horror, from psychological tension to outright supernatural terror, while maintaining the clinical, documentary-style presentation the SCP Foundation is known for. It's a perfect entry point for newcomers to the SCP universe, while offering enough depth and references to satisfy longtime fans.
So, please maintain direct eye contact with SCP-173 and...
SCP Observer. In this nerve-wracking spin on the Five Nights at Freddy's formula, SCP Observer puts you in the sweaty shoes of a maintenance engineer trapped in what might be the worst security room since the invention of security rooms. Your job? Just survive until the nine-tailed fox rescue team arrives. Though in typical SCP fashion, that's easier said than done. The game's brilliance shines through its special approach to survival horror. Instead of running away from threats, you're managing them through a network of security cameras and an emergency power system that seems designed by someone who really wanted to make your life difficult. It's like being the world's most stressed-out TV channel surfer, except every channel is trying to kill you. You're constantly juggling between monitoring cameras, managing power supplies, and blocking paths to prevent various SCPs from turning your security room into their personal playground. The game offers 2 distinct areas: the light containment zone and heavy containment zone. The customizable difficulty levels are a stroke of genius, allowing both newcomers and hardened SCP veterans to fine-tune their nightmare experience. Whether you want a mild case of anxiety or full-blown panic attacks, Observer has you covered. The game understands that sometimes the scariest thing isn't what you see on the cameras, but the anticipation of what might appear when you switch to the next feed. SCP Blackout. Step into the shoes of a D-Class personnel, that's SCP speak for expendable, in SCP Blackout, a virtual reality horror experience that plunges you into the heart of a containment breach. Set in the fictional Site-50, a transport hub for SCPs, this game proves that sometimes the most terrifying experiences are the ones you can reach out and touch, or that can reach out and touch you. Developer Kyle Frost has crafted an entirely new set of SCPs for this game, working closely with prominent members of the SCP community to ensure these new anomalies feel right at home in the universe. It's like walking into a haunted house where even the most seasoned horror fans don't know what to expect. The game's plot is a ticking time bomb of tension. As a blackout hits Site 50, containment systems fail, and SCPs start roaming free. Your goal? Survive, escape, and maybe save the world if you're feeling particularly heroic. But here's the kicker. The longer you take, the worse things get. Systems continue to shut down, the facility grows darker, and the SCPs spread further. It's like playing tag with nightmares, and you're always it. Gameplay-wise, SCP Blackout offers a smorgasbord of horror delights. You'll be collecting items, avoiding SCPs, and trying to piece together the mystery of what went wrong at Site 50. With 8 different endings and a plethora of collectibles, the game offers more replayability than a shape-shifting monster has forms. And for the lore hounds out there, you can uncover the secrets of the SCPs, the motivations of the site directors, and the actions of the doctors that led to this mess. When an SCP is bearing down on you, there's no screen to hide behind. It's just you, your virtual hands, and whatever you can find to defend yourself. It's the kind of game that makes you grateful for the safety of your living room once you take off the headset. SCP-087 VR Survivor. Taking one of the most iconic SCP-087 lore into virtual reality, SCP-087 VR transforms the endless stairwell into an immersive nightmare that makes every step feel like a descent into madness. This VR adaptation brings new depth to the classic horror experience of exploring an infinite concrete stairwell, where something is always watching. The game's brilliance lies in its use of VR technology to amplify the claustrophobic horror of SCP-087. In VR, the narrow stairwell feels oppressively real, with every echo and shadow taking on new significance when you're physically turning your head to check what might be lurking behind you. The game introduces survival mechanics like torch crafting and sanity management, adding layers of complexity to the original concept. The game knows that true fear comes from anticipation, using darkness and sound design to create an atmosphere of mounting dread. Your sanity meter becomes a physical representation of your growing paranoia as you descend deeper into the facility. The various entities you encounter, from the masked man to the infamous Cheshire Smile, are rendered in terrifying detail that makes you wish you couldn't see them so clearly. When SCP-087-1's face appears, it's no longer just a jump scare on a screen. It's right there with you in the darkness. The game plays with this proximity in ways that make even hardened horror veterans question their courage. The sound design is particularly effective, with the distant crying of a child seeming to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. The simplicity of the concept, an endless descent into darkness, proves that sometimes the most effective horror comes from the most basic fears: darkness, isolation, and the unknown that lurks just beyond our vision. In VR, every creak of the stairs and every flicker of your failing light source becomes a heart-stopping moment of tension. SCP Fragmented Minds. Taking the SCP universe to the Red Planet, SCP Fragmented Minds breaks new ground by combining survival horror with action-packed gameplay mechanics. Set in the aftermath of a global catastrophe, you wake up from cryo-sleep in Mars Site-113, arguably humanity's worst vacation destination. For the first time ever, you step into the boots of a mobile task force soldier, armed with both combat prowess and stealth capabilities. The game offers unprecedented freedom in how you tackle its horrors, whether you prefer to sneak past anomalies or face them head-on with customizable weapons. The setting itself is a character, with the crumbling and overgrown Mars facility creating an atmosphere of isolation that's amplified by the knowledge that you're literally planets away from help. The environment is integrated into the gameplay through platforming mechanics and shortcuts, making exploration both rewarding and terrifying. The game shines in its variety of gameplay systems. From crafting to combat, stealth to platforming, every mechanic feels purposeful and polished, Resource management adds another layer of tension. Sure, you can fight back against the horrors, but with limited ammo, every shot counts. It's like playing chess with monsters while counting your bullets. The multiplayer component, particularly the hunt mode, adds a fresh twist to the formula. This flagship experience pits MTF operators against SCPs in objective-based matches where no two rounds are identical. With limited respawns and critical teamwork requirements, it transforms the single-player horror into a competitive nightmare. SCP Labrat. SCP Labrat brings the iconic horror of SCP Containment Breach into the realm of virtual reality, offering a heart-pounding experience that puts you right in the middle of a facility-wide catastrophe. This faithful recreation takes everything that made the original game terrifying and amplifies it through the immersive power of VR. As a D-class personnel, essentially an expendable test subject, you wake up in the midst of chaos. The facility's containment systems have failed, releasing a menagerie of anomalous entities. Your goal? Simple survival. Easier said than done when reality-bending horrors lurk around every corner. The infamous blinking system returns, now more nerve-wracking than ever as you physically manage your character's eye movements. Encounters with SCPs like the neck-snapping statue, SCP-173, or the reality-warping SCP-106 become exponentially more terrifying when experienced in first-person VR. New SCPs, items, and events have been added to the mix, ensuring that even veteran Containment Breach players will find fresh horrors to discover. The VR implementation goes beyond simple visual upgrades, offering full-body presence and physics interactions that make every action feel consequential. SCP Labrat doesn't just rely on its VR gimmick. It uses the technology to enhance the core horror experience. The claustrophobic corridors feel more oppressive, the darkness more consuming, and the threats more immediate when you're physically present in the space. The sound design is particularly effective, with every scrape, footstep, and alarm heightening the tension. For those brave enough to face the horrors with friends, the game offers multiplayer modes. At its core, SCP Labrat succeeds by staying true to what made Containment Breach a cult classic while leveraging VR technology to create an even more immersive horror experience. SCP Nine-Tailed Fox. SCP Nine-Tailed Fox flips the script on the traditional SCP horror experience, putting you in the boots of the mobile task force sent to clean up the mess. This free survival horror game, based on SCP Containment Breach, offers a fresh take on the familiar formula by letting you experience the chaos from the other side of the Containment Breach. As a member of the elite Nine-Tailed Fox unit, you're tasked with restoring order to a facility that's gone off the deep end. The game brilliantly captures the tension of being a supposed professional in a situation that's spiraled far beyond normal protocols. It's like being the world's most stressed-out janitor, except instead of mopping floors, you're trying to mop up reality-bending horrors. You're armed and trained, but that doesn't make the SCPs any less terrifying. The game strikes a perfect balance between empowering the player and maintaining the sense of dread that defines the SCP universe. You might have a gun, but when faced with entities that can bend reality or snap necks with a glance, that sidearm feels more like a security blanket than actual protection. The game thrives in its attention to detail, expanding on the lore and mechanics of the original Containment Breach. New SCPs, items, and events have been added, ensuring that even veteran SCP fans will find fresh horrors to discover. The ability to interact with D-class personnel adds a moral dimension to the gameplay. Do you follow protocol and terminate them, or risk everything to save a few lives? Nine-Tailed Fox doesn't just rest on its single-player laurels. The game offers multiplayer modes that let you experience the Containment Breach with friends. However, like any good SCP, this game comes with its own anomalous properties. Some players have reported game-breaking bugs and save file corruption issues. These glitches can lead to frustrating moments where you're stuck in death loops or unable to progress. But for many, these quirks only add to the game's charm. mirroring the unpredictable nature of the SCP universe itself. Despite its rough edges, SCP Nine-Tailed Fox stands as a worthy addition to the SCP game library. Just remember, in the world of SCP, even the containment specialists aren't safe from the horrors that lurk in the shadows. The Lost Signal SCP. The Lost Signal. SCP takes a unique approach to the SCP universe by putting you in the shoes of a field agent investigating paranormal events worldwide. Unlike other SCP games that confine you to a facility, this mobile-exclusive horror adventure sends you into the wild unknown, where every investigation could be your last. As an agent of the mysterious Lost Signal Agency, you're tasked with researching various artifacts and anomalies that blur the line between reality and nightmare. The game's excellence lies in its quest-based structure, offering a series of paranormal investigations that become progressively more disturbing. Each mission presents unique challenges and encounters with creepy monsters, making every investigation feel fresh and terrifying. The 3D graphics engine pushes mobile hardware to create immersive environments that serve as perfect backdrops for the supernatural encounters you'll face. The Lost Signal. SCP stands out for its accessibility, while maintaining the core horror elements that make SCP games special. While it may be more action-oriented than traditional SCP experiences, it doesn't sacrifice the psychological horror and tension that fans expect. The game successfully translates the SCP formula to mobile devices, proving that good horror can thrive on any platform. There you have it. 12 terrifyingly perfect SCP games that are just begging to haunt your Steam Deck. Whether you're navigating shadowy hallways, deciphering the madness of anomalies, or simply trying not to have a heart attack from a jump scare, these games deliver an unforgettable horror experience. They don't just test your survival instincts, they test your nerves, your sanity, and maybe even your willingness to sleep with the lights off. The beauty of playing these gems on the Steam Deck is that you can take the fear anywhere. Play in bed, play in the park, or scare yourself silly on a long train ride. Just maybe don't play them in total darkness, unless you want your imagination to run wild every time you hear a creak. So, what are you waiting for? Start downloading these masterpieces and prepare for sleepless nights. But hey, if something feels a little too real, or you start hearing strange noises, don't blame us. We warned you. Don't forget to like this video and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Happy gaming, and good luck.
SCP-035 has been spotted. Taking aim.
Ah, visitors. I was beginning to become impatient.